aka this is Cars, Stars, and everything in between. He's the star, Richard Mazzy from Schultz Ford at schultzford.com. I am Bubba from 100.7 Star, and we have a star with us today, comedian extraordinaire coming to the Berg, Mr. Jeff Allen. Welcome to Cars, Stars, and everything in between.
My gosh, this is it, the pinnacle.
You
it's all downhill from here.
The highest point of your career is right now.
It's also the lowest.
Yeah.
Well,
Hey, I'm glad to be alive. We just had 9 inches of snow in Nashville, which in Nashville is the sign of the apocalypse. I mean,
really?
Yeah, we're snowed in. This is like we've been here 25 years. This is the largest pile that we've ever had. So
that's pretty amazing. We have it here. You know, the funny thing about that, Jeff, is I was saying to somebody the other day, you know, I'm a car dealer and I'm a Ford dealer. And so we sell electric vehicles, and, you know, it's all about the environment and fossil fuels and blah, blah, blah. And here's what we're finding. People don't really care. But the funny part is my point to this all is, why are we struggling now to go and convert everything to electric? When I look at the weather, we've already screwed it up. How you can't fix it now?
Oh, I tell audiences, I get booed a lot, but I tell the audiences, stop saying we're getting rid of fossil fuels. Children believe you. Just shut up. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. I got an electric car, I got a gas car, and I just bought a 2005 Ford Explorer Sport Track. That's considered my farm truck. That's our savior. Great. If our electric car, you know, one day I told my wife, I said, we're going to wake up and see our car backing out of the driveway. It's going to be heading to Iowa somewhere. I don't know.
Oh, that's funny. Well, first of all, the Sport Track was a wonderful vehicle, but I have to ask, and I'm afraid I might know the answer, but I have to ask, what type of electric vehicle?
Oh, a Tesla.
Okay. Yeah, I knew you were going to say that because
it farts. It farts. I'm sorry, but when you got crying grandkids in the back of the car, fart noises make them laugh. So,
well, yeah, I mean, come on. And then the next thing you're going to tell me is you have an autonomous car. And the great thing about an autonomous car, if you buy, you know, one of ours, is that it comes built in with a digital mother-in-law in the back seat.
Oh, nice. Exactly what I need. Exactly what I want.
You do.
Wait a minute. You laughed. You're supposed to be the comedian, but you laughed at me.
So, Jeff, how did you make the launch? So tell us your career arc to where you are today. Like, how did you realize that, oh my God, I'm funny and I can get paid to be funny?
Oh, I don't know. I started in 1978. I'm a recovering alcoholic, so I was an alcoholic. And I always said, if you like to nap, get a job in a mattress factory, and if you like to drink, find a job in a bar. And I just started going to a comedy club in Chicago. I wasn't very good, you know, but it didn't matter. It was, you know, they weren't paying me anything anyway. And then by 1980, the country exploded with comedy clubs. There was more clubs than there were comedians who could work them. And by then I'd put together 10 or 15 decent minutes, and I just hit the road. And that's what I've been doing since 1978.
You know, that makes a great point. When people hear that, right? So like this show that we're doing now is about 18 minutes, right? And we're going to talk for 18 minutes and have casual conversation. I've done it a couple times. I don't think people realize when you're standing alone on a stage and you're and just you and your words are the funny entertainment that you provide an audience, how long 10 minutes can be.
Well, yeah. For you, Bob, but 10 minutes is like a million because you're not funny.
That is true.
Yeah, how long a minute?
But if you listen to Jeff, he's actually funny.
Right.
They call it flop sweating when your pits, you know, and I love that the way they describe it. It's one bead of sweat that breaks away from your pit and starts its descent down your bare skin, down your side. And it makes it all the way to the top of your pants. And it's about 5 degrees cooler than your body temperature. So you can feel the entire descent of that drip of sweat. And there's no place to hide. There's absolutely no. And somebody once said, you know, they always ask, have you ever bombed? I go, if you haven't bombed, you're not a comedian. It's like, you know, you're not a boxer till someone punches you in the face. And then you'll determine whether or not you want to be a boxer. And you're not a comic until you humiliate yourself in front of hundreds of people in an evening.
So you came up with some obstacles. You mentioned that you were an alcoholic and you're still in recovery. And that was what, 37 years ago?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
So 37 years ago, and it's actually a wonderful message. I'm pretty familiar with it. Family members, I'm not sure where you went or what you did, or if you are still active in it, but my family founded Father Martin's Ashley in Haverty Grace, Maryland.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'm pretty familiar with the background, and I really salute you. And man, does it get easier?
What, not drinking?
Recovery, yes.
Oh, yeah. I don't, the only time I think about it is when I watch the news.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's
So I quit watching the news.
that's wonderful, and congratulations.
Talk about not having control over anything, So
yeah, that's really great.
Yeah, and then the bars, I never really thought much about it. After a couple of years, I think God's grace is a wonderful thing, and that pull, that desire, whatever, it eventually it leaves.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fabulous. And you decided to take the comedy into a clean perspective and to keep it clean, keep it all about, the inspirational things in life, as opposed to making it negative and vulgar.
Yeah. Well, I don't think, it's interesting. That whole thing, the genesis of that was we got called to school because my 4th grade son cussed at his teacher. So we're sitting across the desk as two parents. It brought back like grade school to me. I was waiting for the principal to come in, and it triggered a lot of stuff in me. And anyway, driving home, I told the teacher, I said, I'd love to look you in the eye and with all sincerity and tell you I have no idea where that child heard that kind of language. That's kind of the way we talk at home. So anyway, driving home, my wife said, that's a reflection on us, and we need to start curbing our language and stuff. So I paid the kids $0.25 for every cuss word that came out of my mouth, and basically that's how I funded their college. Took about 2 years, but that was it. And then I started thinking, I wonder if I can clean up on stage. I'm a storyteller, and in all honesty, it made me a much better at my craft by trying to find ways to work around the language. It is, I believe, it's a lazy speech. My father said that it's intellectually lazy, and my father was a construction worker. He cussed like a sailor, but my father had a vocabulary that, if he needed to look up a word, it was usually in the unabridged dictionary. The collegiate never had it.
Really?
Yeah, my father had an amazing vocabulary. I think he had a photographic memory. He remembered everything. Yeah, that was a blessing and a curse.
I would imagine.
Yeah, he'd bring up stuff. Remember that wagon you took when you were like 9? I go, Dad, it was 30 years ago.
Wow.
But he told me early in my life that I think Eugene Debs said, I love this quote: profanity gives people permission not to hear what you have to say. And I learned that when the bill collectors were calling. Every time I cussed at them, they'd hang up.
Well, something. That's a great. Can I steal that? That's a great line.
That's Eugene Debs. That's not my quote.
Yeah. That is a great line. By the way, if you're just tuning in, this is Cars, Stars, and everything in between on 100.1 FM, AM 1020 KDK. He's Richard Bazzi. I'm Bubba, and this is Jeff Allen. And when we come back, we're going to continue more with Jeff Allen and talk about how Jeff is coming to Pittsburgh so you can actually see Jeff Allen in person. And we'll talk about that next on 100.1 FM, AM 1020 KDKA.
Well, that was a fast 9.
Yeah, how about that? Holy crap.
That was fun.
Yeah, it is. It is fun. You're fun. It's great. Really great.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my car out today. I don't know if I should risk Nashville has, I think, 3 plows, and we get them from Kentucky. So it's not like snow removal is and we live in the kind of the rural area, but I need to get some caffeine. I should have had some foresight.
Hang on, I'm just saving this, and we're going to get ready to go.
Which Tesla did you buy?
The Model 3. And the reason, I really, be honest with you, the reason I bought it, I test drove what a friend of mine had one. I loved it.
Yeah.
And then I told my wife, I said, if we order it and wait 6 months or whatever it is. If we don't like it in 3 months, we could probably sell it for more than what we paid, just because people don't want to wait. And,
Yeah,
we got it, and she loves it. I gave it to her. She loves it.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. The electric experience is pretty cool, I have to say.
It's the fastest car I've ever owned, and
Yeah.
Wow.
We have a Mustang Mach-E, and I'm telling you, it absolutely, the front end comes up when you fly.
Really.
Yeah, it's insane.
I did the convention for the Mustang Collectors National Convention. It was at the Indianapolis Speedway, and they took me around the Speedway in a Mustang at 175 miles an hour.
Boy, I don't know if I'd trust anybody sitting in the passenger seat at 170.
No, well, I was not. Believe me, I said one trip around was enough. I said,
yeah. That's insane.
Here we go.
all right.
100.1 FM, AM 1020 KDKA. This is Car Stars and everything in between. He's the star, Richard Bazzi, Schultz Ford, schultzford.com. I'm Bubba from 100.7 Star. And on with us today is Jeff Allen, who is a comedian. He is also a star, and he will be performing in Pittsburgh. So before we get into more questions, let's talk about you coming to the Berg.
I am. I'm coming to Pittsburgh. I think it's the Improv, right?
Absolutely. The Pittsburgh Improv. And by the way, they remodeled it a few years ago. It is an amazing room.
Oh, yeah. And it's what I love about it for comedy. It's the ceiling is kind of low, and it's just packed in. And those are just the best rooms for comedy. And
now, why is a low ceiling important?
well, it keeps the laughs in. I mean, it's just like you're like in an enclosed area. So it's
what are things that the average person like I love going to comedy shows. I love going to comedy shows. I love laughing. I go with the mindset of I'm going to be entertained, even if it's a comedian I don't know. But what are the things that you look at that you see that the average comedy fan doesn't see, whether it be in a performance or a room?
Is from the comedian standpoint.
Yeah,
Like
same things that
watching
you
the
look at.
comedian?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I have an attention span of a gnat. So if they hold my attention, then it's a good show,
Sounds like me.
I always tell young comics, I'm trying to start to mentor a little bit as I get older, that the longer the setup, the stronger the punchline has to be. I mean, if people are going to invest a minute and a half, 2 minutes into your setup, you better have a payoff, man. And they better not see it coming, because if they see it coming, then it's just gonna lay flat. So I've always thought that, Shakespeare said brevity is the soul of wit. And I think getting to the point, so that's kind of me. If they hold my attention, and we were just watching. I stopped watching comedy, then COVID, I started watching it again, and I found Bill Burr, and Burr just kills me. I mean,
Yeah.
I lived in Boston for 2 years, and somebody said to me, how do they think of that stuff? I go, if you ever lived in Boston, the bus stop has like 9 Bill Burrs on it every morning. That's just the way they are, man. So.
Yeah,
That's it. Truth. I like truth. I can handle character comics for about 8 minutes, but I like guys that have personalities that are sharp and clever.
Well, how do you come up with your material? I mean, I watched several of your things, and it just seems to flow. And I wonder, do you write that down? Do you create a structure?
Well, it's funny. One of the more recent ones I just came up with, Tammy and I were on vacation, my wife, in Montana, and it took me. We're driving in the car for 2-3 hours a day, and finally, at one point, I look at her and I go, "We're at a point in our marriage where every conversation we have turns into a game of charades. We can't remember a darn thing between the two of us." It is. It's like she'll say, I saw this guy you worked with in New York on TV the other night. And I go, "Oh, really? What guy was that?" She goes, that guy. And I go, "No, I don't know the guy. That's why I'm asking you." And it just goes 5 minutes of just trying to figure this out. We never figure it out. You saw him in New York. Was it city? No, it wasn't city. I go, "Well, what did he look like?" "Oh, he's a white guy." Well, that narrows it down. I mean, was he tall, short? Well, he was your height, 6 foot, 6'1". No, he wasn't that tall. And he's not my height. My God, let's get to the point here.
Wow, that's every conversation that my buddy Denny and I have. All of our friends just make fun of us because we're constantly trying to describe people and we never get to it.
I can't remember anything. You know,
No.
let's eat
So
at
do you
that
take
place. We
that
ate at.
spot?
What place was that? You know that place? No, I don't know that place.
Ah.
But how do you keep that alive though for a whole set? Like, do you write that down and then build from that?
Well,
Or
yeah, that's like what I call the seed. You just plant it, and then from there it leads into some other things, and you try to. I'm putting together now a new set for Dry Bar that's got to be done by March 1st, and it's 25 minutes, and it's going to be a struggle. To, I start with something that I think is true. And Jeff Foxworthy said something to me. I did his podcast, and he said years ago he went to the comedy club, before anybody knew who he was, and he threw out something that happened at home with his wife, and everybody laughed. And driving home, he goes, "Gee, I wonder if it happened in my house. It may have happened in somebody else's house." And that develops the relationship with the audience if they can relate to what you're talking about. Steve Martin had a great joke. He would open it with all these plumbing references, like a dozen plumbing references, and the audience is just staring at him. And he goes, "Wow, that killed at the plumbing convention last week."
that's so funny. And I don't want to, I'm not going to pull you into a conversation about this, but I love comedy and I watch all the Netflix. I do agree. I love Bill Burr. And there's some good people out there, but I'll be honest with you. I turned one off the other day and I just couldn't watch it anymore. And it was Pete Davidson. And I know everybody loves Pete and I know he's wonderful, but I don't get it. And
My wife has given me that stink face. Well, not everybody. I couldn't tell you a line he does. I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, it's all foul, and no matter what it is, it's all foul.
Yeah.
And I just didn't like it. I mean, I turned it off. I never do that. And I give everybody the time to make me entertained, but he doesn't entertain me at all. I just don't get it.
Yeah, well, that's there's a number of people I used to watch coming up and go, I don't get it, and but that's the beauty of the internet right now. The internet, made my career.
Well, when I watch you,
Well, explain
brings
that.
people in that never, before there were 4 gatekeepers for comedy, New York and LA, and the internet just opened up the entire world.
What was the one? Do you remember the moment? Do you remember the thing that went viral? Do you remember the one thing that you did? They were like, "Oh my God, look at what's happening."
I don't know, but my wife could tell you. She would sit in the morning and go, "Holy cow, it's up to 80 million views," and I'm going, "Who's watching this stuff?"
wow.
I was completely ignorant to the thing. And Dry Bar, they introduced me to millions of people that never knew I existed.
What is Dry Bar, Jeff?
It's a Angel Studios out of Provo, Utah.
Okay.
And it's done at a bar that doesn't sell alcohol. They tape their Dry Bar.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's so at this point, do you get as much fulfillment from being in a club, being on the road as you did earlier in your career?
I'm enjoying it more.
Really? Why now more?
One, it's my audience. It took me all these years to cull an audience that knows me. So it's a completely different vibe than just going out in front of a room full of strangers, trying to win them over the first 5 minutes or so. And then now it's just, and at my age, 67, I'll run it out and then I can retire.
Yeah. And when you're saying when you come to town February 15th at the Pittsburgh Improv at the waterfront, you're saying that what your audience is going to be no matter where you go, including Pittsburgh.
Pretty sure.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of older folks, a lot of people. The clubs like me because they were, these are first-time comedy club goers.
Yeah.
I worked for years in the faith community, so a number of church people are coming out to the clubs they never would go before, only because they never knew what they were going to get. They didn't want to sit in front of a comic that would offend them, and so it's interesting, and a great story. I was in Nebraska, Oklahoma City. The club was on a second floor, and one of my biggest pet peeves is starting late. I pretty much work alone. I don't usually have an opening act, and I want to start on time. You train your audience to show up on time, and we're 20 minutes. We haven't started. I go to the manager. I go, "What's going on?" She goes, "Jeff, I understand you got a problem, but I forgot a lot of your audience has wheelchairs and walkers."
That's
And
fine.
we're on the second floor. We didn't make accommodations early enough, so we're just trying to get the stuff. We're trying to get your people in. So
Oh,
I
that-
said, "Okay, man, I forgive you." You know,
that's funny. Jeff, what I'm going to ask you, I don't know if you have this or if Tammy does, but what would Tammy say is her favorite bit that you do? Does she have one?
no, she just asks if the check clears.
Which is your favorite bit too. Well,
Right.
Well,
yeah.
listen, Jeff, you're coming to the Berg February 15th at the Pittsburgh Improv at the waterfront. Tickets are available and on sale. Thanks for joining us for Cars, Stars, and everything in between.
Thank you, guys, man. Bless you. Have a good day.